So whatever you do, you just want to make sure that you're very intentional and that you make a plan. And once you make the plan, just follow the plan. Just kind of like the five things that I feel like are essential to building your real estate business, that I think could obviously translate into anything. I heard, I guess it was, oh, Elon Musk, that that guy Elon. His ex-wife, I read some article that she was interviewed in, and something really, really cool that she said on there was, you want to make yourself like so indispensable, like to be a billionaire, okay? And like that's not necessarily my goal. Like I know that that is some people's goal, and if you want to be a billionaire, that's great. You have to understand what you're sacrificing. And but I really liked what she said, that I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, how do you make yourself indispensable? And not even indispensable, but just like you come up with something that people want or that people need. Um, and you set yourself apart from everybody else, right? And so that's kind of like, I think anybody can do that, when they're building their business, but they have to figure out for themselves. So the first one that I wrote on here, and what you and I were just talking about, Paul, was, determining what your niche is, right? So the thing that I've noticed in this particular market, because, back, from what, like, I don't know, 2012, maybe 2014, the market's just like coming back from 2008, and then it just starts flying and everybody's making money, and you buy a house and in 2 months it's already appreciated and you can sell it for $50,000 more than what you just bought it for, just insane. Everybody's making money. But that's not reality. Like, we're not going to live there forever. And then the market turns. And the people that I have been watching that have been the most successful have niched all the way down, right? So, there is a girl that is in the sub two community, and her name is Caroline Kane. And if you're in sub two, you know her. You might even know if you're not in sub two. And couple years ago, it's probably 2 years ago, she kind of started just targeting foreclosures, pre-foreclosures. And she set out this very, very distinct buy box, right? So this is my buy box. It's got to be like, there's got to be at least 50% equity. It's got to be an ARV targeted here, right? And she just started marketing that probably 2 years ago. And now I swear she is stopping foreclosures every single day, buying these people out of their foreclosures and then turning around and selling them. She does a couple of flips. Keeps a couple of them for herself. But I mean, she's doing like, anywhere from 12 to 15 deals a month, but very specific with her buy box. Like, she niched all the way down. This is not like where she's stopping the foreclosure and then hoping that, you can take it over sub two. This is not creative finance, right? She's doing straight cash deals on pre-foreclosure. She's got lenders, and that's all she does, right? She doesn't put anything else out there, and she'll do it nationwide. So it's not like she's necessarily, I mean, I think it's got to be like in a market that has like at least 500,000 people, is what she said. Again, I don't really know what her buy box is. I just have seen her put it out there, and I mean, she's so targeted in her marketing. She doesn't even spend any money marketing directly to sellers. She only markets to wholesalers, to new wholesalers, to other wholesalers across the country, like maybe that don't understand how to do it. And so, that is like the most important thing. And so that's one of the things that I've really done, in my business too, because for like we mostly are flipping, um, is eventually I kind of got to a point where I'm like, okay, I got to determine my niche, right? We're here, we're in Jacksonville. This is a Navy town. I mean, Paul, you're from here. Like, where are the neighborhoods where, where are the neighborhoods that are affordable? I think that's the most important thing. Like, whatever neighborhood that you're in, you want the houses to be affordable. So if you're going to be the most expensive house in the neighborhood as a flipper, that's going to be a poor choice. There's been houses that I've passed on that I'm like, yeah, this house, it could appraise for 400,000, but that's, three neighborhoods over. It's not even a mile away, but in this particular neighborhood, it's the biggest house on the street, right? And it's 400,000. So, if I'm going to not be the biggest house on the street and I want to make sure that, I'm looking at all the other houses to know like, okay, is it just like every other house that people are buying? Because someone who's buying a $400,000 house isn't going to want to buy a house on a $250,000 street. So, those are the types of things that we look for. So we niched all the way down, even in our buy box. We're staying in that 2 to 400 range. Want to make sure that I'm in a 3-2, and every single thing that comes my way that doesn't match my criteria, you shoot out the door. Now, there's another guy that I was thinking of too when I was writing this out. And he used to live in Jacksonville. I just follow all his stuff. He started doing double closing, like just double closing. That's all he did. And then eventually he moved from double closing on single family real estate to only doing double closing on big real estate. So I mean, on commercial real estate. I don't really know what that looks like. I have no idea who double closes in commercial real estate. Don't know anything about it. All I know is that he niched all the way down to one thing, and the guy is doing so much business. And then eventually, he picks and chooses who he even wants to do business with because he's gotten so much business. And it took him a while to really niche down. Like he tried several different things. Um, before he niched all the way down into doing this sort of what I like to call transactional funding, where he'll do like gap loans and double closes. That's probably more of like what he's doing in the commercial space is the gap lending on apartment buildings. Like if someone's going to buy an apartment building, sometimes they need a gap loan before they get their big loan. In order, so he's doing all of that. So I think it's like super important, especially in this market, is to niche all the way down. That is the number one thing. So you're when you're doing this, it's going to have to be like, okay, so what is my niche? What am I doing here? Maybe you're like, I'm going to do nationwide marketing, but I'm only going to do mailers, or I'm only going to do SEO, um, or I'm only going to market to foreclosures, or I'm only going to market to small towns. But I do think that you need to just niche all the way down and target that certain area before you start to grow and to add things, right? Um, because if you're constantly, I'm over here and then I'm trying this and then I'm trying that, like nothing's ever going to work. So it's one of the first things that I talk with people about, like when you're first starting out, what is going to make you special? Like, how are people going to remember you and why are they going to want to do business with you, right? Like, that is what you've got to figure out is what your niche is. Does that make sense? Um, so then the other thing, and I was reading about this too, and I love Lila Hermoisi, is she always says, like, make a plan and follow the plan. Like, F your feelings, follow the plan. I think that's like on every single one of her. And I think about that all the time because I'm like, man, some days you wake up and you don't think that what you're doing is working. And not that you're not going to like reevaluate your business and look at the numbers and change things up, but in general, like you need to make a plan, right? So now you've gotten to this point where you know you're going to be marketing, this is what you're targeting. This is who you want to be. This is what your business is going to be. So now let's make a plan. And what does that plan look like? So you're not waking up every day wondering if your plan's going to work, right? You have to make a plan and follow the plan and do not deviate. So what does that look like? So when I first started, I had my kids were like very, very little and they still are. And my days, sometimes I feel like I, need to even get better at it now than I was really, really good at it then. But every single week I would do this time block, right? So every single week I knew exactly how I was going to be spending my time almost every single minute of the day. Now, what's funny is that, um, my days fill up so quickly now. And because I'm looking at properties and I'm going, I leave like big gaps open to be able to go look at properties. But, it would be, I decided that I was going to do cold calling, right? So I pulled my list, I got a dialer, and I'm going to do 30 to 40 hours of cold calling every single week. And this is what it looks like. So that was my first step, right? So I had my plan. And now I'm going to follow my plan, right? Now, Joanne, I know we time block and we fall off. The important thing is to go back to it, right? So if there was like a day where I was supposed to be doing 7 hours of cold calling or 6 hours, and because I have three little kids, I only got 3 hours in, then I know I have to make that up somewhere. And so, especially for everybody here that's getting started and they have a W-2, and a family, right? It is going to behoove you and give everybody else peace of mind if they know what your plan is, right? And that you're
Mhm.
not just randomly saying, well, I got to go make some calls when, you're supposed to be, when your family wants you to sit at dinner with them, right? And not to say that you shouldn't sit at dinner with your family, but if they know that you're sitting at dinner with them on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, but then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, you're going to be making calls from 5 to 7, then they know that and you know that. And then there's no question, right? And so that was kind of a big, huge thing, especially because my husband's works with me. And in the beginning, it was like, we were like jumbling and mixing up roles and kind of like stepping on each other's toes. And we weren't really sure who was doing what, where, when, and why. And he'd be in there making calls while I'm making calls, and then nobody's watching the kids. No, I'm just kidding. I think somebody was always watching the kids, but you know what I mean? I'd be like, I just talked to that guy, like, and you're in the next room talking to that guy. Um, exactly. I have to go make some calls. So, it's every single week, you have your plan, right? You're targeted. This is what I want to do. Now I have to implement that plan and I have to follow it every week. If you get derailed, you have to go back to it no matter what. And so the time blocking is huge. And there's certain things every single week that it's on my calendar, right? So like this Zoom, like I'm here every single Monday afternoon at 3:30, right? This is where I am, that my family knows that I'm here. And school gets out at 3, and everybody probably who's been on this Zoom before knows that my kids come in and they say hi to me. We're on spring break right now. So they're all in the other room playing, which is kind of nice. But this is where I am every Monday morning. So I even have, set times of, when I need to have things done. And when I wake up every day, there's just no question as to what my plan is and the fact that I'm following the plan. Um, and as I start to add new things, into my business, which is always the goal, then I have to make new plans inside my business, right? So like when I opened my school and I did this 3:30 call, right? Now I'm separating out the 3:30 call. I want to make sure that, I'm here every Monday at 3:30. And then I just did my first flipping class. And so I'm kind of starting a little side business doing like some mentorships for people to get their first flips here in Jacksonville, Florida. And that was really fun, right? So, I make the plan, decide how I'm going to niche down. And, even for me, like when I was thinking, like, I love like the mentorship side of it and helping people and what I'm doing here on my school is a little bit different, right? Because I think in my school, I want to attract people who are just getting started. So I love doing that, but this is all for free because I understand that when you start out, like you need help and you need help for free. And I know I had a lot of help. I had a lot of people help me. So I want to do that in return. But then I get things in return, right? So I get to, people bring me deals and I was able to promote, my flipping through this, my flipping seminar. I have meetups. I've been doing meetups every single month for 3 years. Not every month, sorry, probably like every other month. That's also for free, right? And so, I have this whole, and I'm going to get to this at the end, this whole like branding side of it that, this is my plan on my branding side. This is what I want to do. And so I have to make that plan and I have to implement that. So so the first one is determine your niche. The second one is to make a plan and to follow the plan and don't deviate. And I think so the next meetup, Glenn, is March 26th, I believe. Because I was yes, next March 26th because there was spring break in Duval this week. And so I usually try to have it on the third Wednesday of every month or every other month. But since the third Wednesday fell on the 19th, which is Duval, and I know people go out of town. Oh, and now you're going to be out of town next week. But that's another thing is even when I started my meetup, and we've had meetings about this, like with other leaders and other in different communities, like what is the focus of my meetup? So for me, so Glenn has this amazing meetup, and actually anybody who asks me about meetups in Jacksonville, I tell them to go to Glenn's. Glenn's is at lunch the fourth Tuesday of every month. He always has a speaker, but then at the end, everybody gets an opportunity to stand up and introduce themselves and say what they do so that when everybody's done, you can literally be like, oh, I'm going over to the accountant because I've been needing an accountant, or oh, I'm going straight over to the roofer. So you don't even have to like network with people to find out what they do because everybody stands up, tells you what they do, and then you can go find the people that you've been looking for. It's really cool. I love that. So he's got the biggest meetup in Jacksonville. When I was planning my meetup, I really wanted mine to be strictly networking because I do feel like we have a lot of meetups around here that they do a lot of teaching. Um, so Paul, these are my own. I do market to the sub two people a lot just because that's my big community and I feel like I know a lot of people. So to draw people out, I am allowed to market it in sub two. So we do get a lot of sub two people, but it's my own. And in fact, we've been talking about like how we're going to brand this again, right? So like we're trying to make a plan. Like we're not just out there like, let's have a meetup. We want to be intentional about what our meetups are. So, I wanted ours to be strictly networking, like a place to come to have food and to have drinks. It's like 2 hours. And I mean, this is something that you can even do wherever you guys are, right? Like you decide, okay, I'm going to start a meetup. What are my meetups going to look like? How often am I going to have them? When am I going to have them? And I like to say, the personality of your meetup, right? So, like, what's the personality of your meetup? For us, with my meetup, I just wanted to be fun, right? I don't want to have one more thing where I'm going and I'm standing in front of people and I'm teaching. Even though I love doing that, I just wanted this to be like, let's have some one-on-one conversations in a smaller setting. Because sometimes I feel like when I go to some of these meetups, that it's a little overwhelming because there's so many people and you don't have a lot of time, right? Because you're standing around waiting for the speaker. Like this, my meetup is no, we're going to have drinks, everybody's going to relax, we're going to have food, and we're all going to chit chat and talk. And, I've had really good conversations with people, like they have questions about how to get started. And then we'll start like a roundtable discussion. It'll just be totally impromptu. People can listen in if they want, or they can go raise money from another guy who came in and said he had $1 million that he wanted to lend out. And, so I've met friends this way, I've met private lenders this way. And I just, and we've kind of been like trying to adjust like how we're going to pull that also into our flipping seminars. Um, so, whatever you do, you just want to make sure that you're very intentional and that you make a plan. And once you make the plan, just follow the plan. The biggest thing is that you are going to be successful at whatever you do as long as you stay consistent and persistent, right? The only way to lose is to quit. Now, like I said, going back to my number three is you want to treat everything like a business. Um, so obviously you want to be tracking how much money you're spending. You know, um, when we send out our mailers, right, we want to make sure that we know what our ROI is. You want to make sure that you know what your ROI is on SEO because not everything works in every single market as far as marketing goes. And so you do need to have some intentionality behind it, right? So um, if I'm going to send out mailers and I know that the industry average is you got to spend 10, I'm just using this as an example, you have to spend, but it's pretty close, $10,000 to get a $20,000 deal, right? So on average, it's $10,000 to get a $1,000 deal, but you also know that the conversion is 6 months. So the conversion rate on PPC, which is pay per click, and SEO is 90 days. So the conversion rate would be lead comes in, converted it within 90 days. And the reason why that is the shortest amount of time because it costs the largest amount of money. Um, and so you wouldn't want to do pay per click for 1 month and then think that you're going to get a deal when your conversion rate is 90 days. So you do need to treat it like a business. Same thing with cold calling. There is absolutely nothing wrong with cold calling, but the conversion rate on cold calling is 9 to 12 months. So start at day zero, right? You get a lead, and on average, that lead is converted into 9 to 12 months. So if you're going to start cold calling and you only do it for 6 months and you don't get a deal and you quit, then you weren't really treating that like a business, right? You were treating that as a hustle, hoping that you got a deal. You have to know these types of things when you're going into it. Sorry, getting a little scratchy throat. So you want to make sure that you're tracking every single thing that you're doing because it might take, I had a seminar where I had a guy come in, and I swear this guy is the best closer I have ever heard. And I love him so much. I love the way he teaches. So I put it in my school on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Um, the only problem is the link that I put in the school is not the link that you need to sign up, but you can get into the Zoom that way. He does a sales call every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Glenn, this is Sam with All Leads Suck. So I mean, he's to me is the best closer I have ever heard. So I put him in if you want to go and listen to some of his sales like calls. He does live calls, closes deals almost every single week at 1 p.m. on Wednesdays. Um, so one of the things that he was saying is that it might take him less time to close a deal because he's an amazing salesperson, right? So like his conversion rate on cold calling maybe less than the industry average, or his conversion rate on SEO. You need to know what your conversion rate is. You need to know how many calls it took you to get to one lead. So if you decided that your niche was going to be calling agents, There's another guy that I know. Um, like all he does, he started probably 3 or 4 years ago. He only does business with other agents. So his whole thing has just been developing agent relationships as well as calling on market agent leads. Everything that he does is through agents, and that's it. So he does absolutely his marketing is all completely free because it's either referrals or listed or pocket listings. Whatever he does, everything is with agents. He made like some like free program. It's called Scorch the Earth. Um, because his last name is, I think it's Scorchin is his last name. Um, but anyways, he talks about in there, what his KPIs are, right? So like for every 40 agents that he talks to, he may get one deal, right? And that might even take you more than 40 agents because remember, again, when you're starting from zero, you might have to talk to 80 agents and on the 78th and the 80th, right? We'll skip 79, you get a deal, right? So you actually needed to talk to 80 agents before you got those first two deals. I'm not talking about that, but I am talking about he knows exactly how many agents. Yeah, I feel like 40 is probably close. Like, how many agents do you need to call every single week in order to get one deal, right? You need to know that, and it needs to happen over time. It can't happen in just one month. There's got to be sales cycles. So when you start out, no matter where you're at, I want you to think like this is going to be a business and you need to treat it like a business. So there needs to be some tracking and there needs to be, because that was actually pretty big mistake I made in the beginning. I think I was just kind of like hustling and working and I didn't even know what a KPI was and didn't keep track of any of that because I just wanted to make some money and I didn't even know what it looked like. And then I had to go back and regroup and rebuild. And that's really something that you don't want to do. And again, you're always regrouping and rebuilding, but if you can start from the beginning, treating this like a business and tracking everything that you're doing, then you're going to know what you need to do to continue to be successful. And you're also going to need to know when you hire a team, like, hey, this is what I've got. This is what you have to do in order to hit this. And this is how much you're going to get paid, right? Because the idea would be to get so busy that you need more people to come and work on your team, right? So that's the goal. Um, the next one that I wrote down here is build your brand. This is always one that is super important to me because I feel like, social media coming into this, I was not a social media person, and I really prided myself on the fact that I wasn't a social media person, right? Like, I don't get on there. My friends were always like, you never post pictures of your kids. And sometimes that's a preference for people. They don't want to post pictures of their kids. But you can go far in this business without it, but you can go a lot further with it. So, whatever you're doing right now, start talking about it, right? So like for you, Paul, you're just kind of starting out, you're doing wholesaling, but at some point you said you want to do apartment buildings. Well, what you need to buy apartment buildings, you need investors, right? And when someone, like for instance, I do a lot of like, hey, come partner with me on these deals. And I put out a post and I'll get at least 4 emails or 4 messages saying like, hey, I'm interested. The first thing I do, even as a borrower, much less a lender, is I go look at their Facebook page because I want to know who they are. Like, do they have a family? Do they live? Are they legit? Are they actually going to fund my deal? Or are they just wasting my time? And I think that that's the same thing for anybody that is going to be investing in your business. They want to know a little bit about who you are. And bye, Glenn. Thanks for coming. And so, you're going to want to have been putting your resume out there because that's what the socials are. And branding is the next, is the next step in this world, right? Like anything that you want to do, you're going to have to be branding, and you don't have to brand your business. I would not brand your business. Brand yourself because businesses close and you move on, and it's kind of like what you were saying, Paul, like I'm doing single family now, but maybe I want to do apartments. So you might be under, John's Home Buyers for a single family, and then you're marketing John's Home Buyers, but then you no longer do John's Home Buyers because now you want to do, hi, baby. You want to do apartments. So now under apartments, you're under John's Apartments LLC, right? So you want to make sure that, hold on one second. Hey, Mark, this is who's bothering me right now. This is who's bothering me. You closing the gate? No, I told you to close it. It was open. Just a little bit, babes. He's on spring break too. He usually goes to school, but everybody's on spring. Pray for me. But it's branding, and so when I was doing my flipping seminar, somebody was asking me, well, why do you put out there so much that you're a mother? Like, why is that important to you? And I'm like, well, that's important to me because it's a piece of who I am. It's not all of who I am, but it's a piece of who I am, and I want people to see who I am, right? Because people want to do business with people they connect with. You will have a following for whatever you brand yourself as. And so thank you. You can choose, right? Like you don't have to have your kids, but like for instance, Pace, he puts his kids up there all the time, and those are my favorite posts. I want to see the posts about his kids because it makes him a real person to me. And that guy's on the way to being a billionaire, right? But he's showing like, but I'm spending time with my kids, and you can mix business and kids, and it doesn't have to be separate. And it just gives people hope, right? That like, oh, April's a mom and she has 4 kids. If she can do it, I can do it. And that's my hope. And that's why I put it out there. Because if I can do it, anybody can do it. So the branding is something you can start doing immediately, and it is super easy. And if you're not used to it, it's a little bit awkward, but you just start talking. You just start taking pictures of the things you're doing. I mean, if you have mailers, take picture of your mailers and be like, "Oh, this guy just sent back F you, never call me again." Like, boy, I love these mailers. People like to see that because it's happening to them too. And it's this whole thing of like, "Oh, you're going through this too, so am I." Right? Like, I'm not the only one that's out there that's got kids, or they're struggling with this or that or the other, right? Or, wow, they just did their first flip and they raised private money. Like, I want to lend money. How can I lend money? And then they can go and learn from you, even on your socials if you're teaching, which is one of the ways that I also brand myself as, a teacher. Come to my social media, watch my videos, and you can learn a lot along with my YouTube. And also, I hire it all out now. So I don't do any of that, which is pretty flippin' awesome, because I really am not that great at it, but I try to like interweave it all in, and it's all my idea. So building your brand is huge. And then the last one, and if you guys have any questions, you can just like pop up, but um, the last one is find your people. That's probably like also the number one. So you are going to need to have people in your life that are, because I always say like I have my church friends, and these people can all, sometimes they double up, sometimes they're intertwined, right? But like I have my church friends because I want to go to church and I want people to help me spiritually. I have my gym friends because I want to remain accountable to going to the gym, and when I don't feel like going to the gym, I don't feel like following the plan. Well, my friends that go to the gym with me every day are going to make sure that I'm going to the gym, right? Because if I don't go to the gym, I have to text them and tell them I'm not coming, and I have to tell them why, and I better have a pretty damn good excuse, right? So I got to have my gym friends. And it's the same thing in real estate. Like you have to find your people in real estate. Just to give you an example, there's a girl that, oh my gosh, every single time a contract falls through over something dumb, I could spin out about that, right? But I don't spin out. And still, I call her and I tell her, and she understands, and she says, oh, me too, right? Or if I need something like, hey, I need a property manager, I have created a community of people that are my real estate friends. Like I have to have all these people in my life to keep me accountable and to keep me going. And it's the same thing in real estate. So if you don't have, and I'm talking about local people that you can meet for coffee, right? That you can sit down and have conversations and bounce ideas off of. I've teamed up with my social media branding people to do these flipping seminars. And we teamed up and we came up with this idea. And along with it, they're doing social media branding and they're amazingly talented and they're bringing all this value to the flipping seminar that isn't just about flipping, it's also about branding and building your YouTube and how that can help you raise money, find deals, and just take your business to the next level. But I found them because they're also my friends. And so we also hang out and we go to parties on the weekends together and we have drinks and we talk about business, but it's fun and we build ideas and we come up with ideas. And we share our hardships and we share our wins. And so I think that that is probably, one of the most important things. And if you don't have that, that's okay. I think that you need to focus on building that because it's going to take you further as well. And you can do that through meetups. You can do that through reaching out with people who are in your local community who are doing what you want to do. Again, try to find people that can fill in the gaps for you. Like, are they doing what you want to do? Do they have a talent that you need for your business, like my social media branding? Do they have money? Like maybe they have money and they can be your lenders, right? Or, like maybe they're in multifamily and you want to be in multifamily. So you go and you meet up with them and you become friends with them. There's a guy that came to my meetup that he was very interested in real estate but hadn't really done anything. And I found out that he bought this business. Well, this business came across my desk. And so I gave him a call and we went for coffee, right? And he basically was able to tell me like, yeah, this is a shitty business. Like this is what you would rather do, right? So like, he's getting into real estate and coming to me and I wanted, I was getting looking at some businesses, so I was coming to him, right? So it's just super important to find your people that you want to do this investing stuff with and that you want to build this business with, because they're going to help you get farther. So, okay, so those are my 5 things: the determining your niche, make a plan and follow the plan, treat it like a business, build your brand, and find your people. 5 things. Does anybody have any questions? Hi, my name is April Giuliano. Right here is where you will learn all things real estate and how to juggle being a mom and entrepreneur. Don't forget to like and subscribe.